Hi everybody, this is Dan from the Underbelly Hours, and we've got a special episode for you this week, or whenever this airs, up to Adela. I'll talk to her later because she's not here right now, unfortunately. She recently, unfortunately and tragically, got abducted by aliens over the past weekend, and we're hoping that she gets dropped off soon. We're hoping that they're benign aliens. We assume so. I mean, we've been in talks with the Pentagon. We've done our research. It seems like she's just gonna, be bounced back maybe in like Nevada or something. I don't know. But once she gets dropped off, we'll fly her back here and we'll have a whole thing. But anyways, yeah. So it's just me. Surprise! You're in for a treat.
Howdy.
And I got the wonderful Jack Byron with me.
Hello.
Today. He is in town. He was a local, and then he decided to become a rogue, adventurer, vagabond, minstrel. What do you call the
a smorgasbord of everything.
What's the a troubadour?
A troubadour.
Troubadour.
That's the right word.
The French
yes.
wandering musician.
Except my head's doesn't fit a hat well, so I can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're not an asshole. Yeah. Kidding. French people are great. I met one, and it was awesome. Never been to France, but hey. So, yeah. This is the Underbelly Hours. Cue intro.
Take off your coat, stay a while!
Like listening to new music? Want to know a band before they get popular? Tune into the Underbelly Hours, Sunday nights at 6 p.m. on WRSC 88.7 FM, and discover the best of local, unsigned musicians. Don't miss out on the next big thing.
All right, so welcome back, Jack.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been good.
How long has it been since the last time you were? We were at Elmhurst, so it's been a while.
I just saw you and your girlfriend at a show in Oak. Where was I?
We did visit you at Little Owl.
Little Owl Social Pub. Yeah.
Where was it? Brookfield. I think.
Brookfield. Yeah. So I saw you there, but the last time I saw you, well, I've been out of town for
quite some time.
26 weeks. No, 26 weeks. I think at least 26 weeks.
And where have you been mostly in that travel?
Mostly 3 states,
Okay.
Tennessee, Virginia, and North Carolina.
I was going to say.
But me and my wife, we've stayed in Virginia and Tennessee. First, it was a town called Kingsport, Tennessee, in the Appalachian Hill Country, and I thought it was Appalachian, and I told this story when I was down south, or I didn't tell it. I told it to a few people since I came back, but that I used to get corrected up north. I've heard people correct if you say Appalachia, and it's supposed to be Appalachia. That's what they say. But I went to Asheville, North Carolina.
And did they say Appalachia?
Yeah, the cat corrected me.
Ooh.
He said, no, it's not Appalachia, it's Appalachia.
Dang, you're wrong twice.
So I was wrong twice. And it won't be the last time, unfortunately. No. I know, man.
You can't please everyone.
So now we were in East Appalachia, and we were living there for a little while, and then we ended up in a town called Abingdon, Virginia, where we were staying. But the entire time, I ended up playing weekly in a town called Bristol, Tennessee. But I didn't know Bristol, Tennessee was apparently the birthplace of country music. It's like in 1927, according to the town history, they had the first country music recordings there.
Interesting.
So they lay claim to that. And then there's a burger joint where Hank Sr. apparently ate his last burger.
And this can all be
died.
Documented?
Yeah. Well, just like every good legend, it's like where did Hank eat his last burger?
Yeah.
Or not even, that's too specific. Where did he eat his last meal? And is that what happened? He ate his meal and he went in the car and then he died.
Rode off.
It's all shrouded in mystery, just like one of those, just like any old good legend is now.
Well, before we get too much into your travels, I really want to get into them. Let's give the listeners a little bit of who you are. Since the last time you were on the show, you put out an EP, Two Travelers. Phenomenal. Still listen to it.
Thanks.
To this day. My girlfriend loves it. Push it on everyone. because it's great. It's great stuff. It's super chill. It's super like, it's I don't know how to describe it. It's like folky, but still Americana, but still like like singer-songwriter, just like, you know, there's still some pop elements, some pop melodies, like Missing You is really nice and catchy. But yeah, so you're a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
With some great roots, and you are back in town because you're recording something new, right?
Yes.
I mean, you've been recording.
So,
too,
all right. So
yeah,
I'm recording.
catch us up.
I'm recording new material now, but I already have recorded material that I haven't put out.
Okay, so you're collecting.
Well, what I realized is after Two Travelers came out, I put all the songs out at once, and just the way music's consumed now, this is what I am wondering about now. It's more beneficial to put a song out one at a time now, it seems, because people consume music that way. They everything's so personalized. You can go on a playlist or whatever.
Right.
But with that, if you go to upload music, like if I uploaded Two Travelers to Spotify, and then I wanted to make one of the songs a single, well, and you're trying to, you know, get to get your traffic to see how many plays you're getting. How does that work? If the song's on the album that you have, and then you put in there, but you want to put one of the songs out as a single, does that mean you can never include your single on an album that you upload to these streaming services? Or is there some, you know, have you uploaded music to?
Yeah,
you have.
In my experience, or at least what I did. What did I? No, I didn't do a single. I think I just uploaded the EP.
You uploaded the EP.
But with the band I was in prior, Tonic Freight Train, you know that.
That was your Chili Peppers inspired deal,
totally,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Everyone has their first project that's so deeply rooted.
Don't
that one is that one's mine.
Everybody has the first
stuck
project
with
thing.
it
I know.
forever. And so, we still got some good stuff. But anyways, when we would release a single, and then the EP would just include that same song. But because we're small fries, you just kind of, it tracks both of them, I think, differently. I think there's a way that you can link them so that it's the same song.
Okay.
But I think you gotta hit up the Spotify reps and be like, hey, this is the same song. I want this to be getting all the same.
Okay, because I was wondering
metrics.
about that. But then also every time so it's like what I'm using. It's like you upload it and it's $50 to upload the album. But every year you have to do that. But how does that work?
What platform are you using to upload?
CD Baby.
Okay.
But I'm wondering.
I'm not familiar with that.
You know, but because singles are more advantageous, every time you put one single out, they charge you yearly for all that. So my thing is how do you? I mean, that can start to be expensive.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like these streaming services and the artists need to figure something out with that, because especially if you're, you know, like myself, an independent artist, it's like, well, it's more advantageous to put the songs out one at a time. But on the same token,
on the cost. That's
right. You put one record out, you pay one fee every year, but you don't. You know what I mean? Just,
well,
it's tricky, man.
That's why I'm a cheap ass bitch. I go to DistroKid because you pay $20 a year, and then you can upload pretty much as much as you want.
Really?
Yeah. You get less options for that rate. You get less statistics. But if you pay the extra package, which is, I don't know, $50, $60 a year, then you get way more metrics, way more who's listening to it where, I think. I mean, a lot of that also comes from Spotify for artists. There's many different sub sites and, you know, secondary tracking
there's
sites that you can use to get the info.
CD Baby.
Yeah, and then there's the middleman
you said
publishers, which is DistroKid, CD Baby, and TuneCore.
Okay.
Those are the biggest ones. TuneCore and CD Baby are probably the most expensive, but they also, at least with CD Baby, I know they offer physical distribution as well. So that's kind of
that's one thing
caveat
they had, and they they have 5 physical copies in the warehouse and all that. And then when they run out, they assume you have a stockpile that you have, so then you could send it to them, and then they replenish it.
But I think you're onto something with the taking budget of posting or whatever platform you use, taking that out of the question, and just the marketing strategy of releasing single after single instead of a big bulk of work. We had actually a conversation with Pino Farina, our first episode back. We touched on this subject very much so, and he and his band agreed that, like, right now the way people are consuming content is in playlists and curated things. They want it all personalized. They want it to fit a vibe or fit a mood or whatever. So it's advantageous for the artist to just keep releasing singles right now because, one, it's probably you get a better chance of getting caught up in the algorithm and getting in those playlists. And then second, just how quickly the cycle of new music comes out now. Everyone can put out a song.
No matter 40,000 songs a week.
That's absurd.
Like,
so to stay relevant in the like marketing world of like social media, you know, you can't just drop an album if you're small, if you're local and independent and still getting your feet on the ground. You can't just like drop this huge album, 12, 13 songs with all your like best work, and you're just so passionate about it. You want to get out there, you want everyone to listen to it, and you drop it. You do the right things, you promote it, before and after. But if you don't keep that up, for like, people just drop off. They just forget.
Exactly.
And so the single thing is like every month or so, people get reminded. It's like, oh yeah, this guy puts out good music. I'm gonna listen to this song. And then you're not asking for too much of their time. You're just being like, hey, check out this song. It's like 3 minutes instead of this album. Where everyone's like, ooh,
definitely,
that's like it's a huge time commitment in my busy day of scrolling through Facebook for 8 hours and letting my brain rot into nothing. Sorry, was that condescending? But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the world we live in right now. Is just our attention spans are minuscule, if
that's why they say like intros and songs now. It's like
that's all you got.
I've been seeing articles. They'll be like, "Should you have an intro to your song?" And I'm like, "Well, wait. The deciding factor of whether or not you should have an intro shouldn't be another person's attention span. It should be like the piece of art
should be
itself.
What services the song, right?
Right.
Fortunately, and here's my silver lining or my optimistic
You just got to make it a really good intro.
I mean, yeah, but of course, yeah. Instead of I think I'm hoping the people. I don't know. The people I talk to, it does seem like it's starting to get old with people. Like people are searching more for like I don't know, something more meaty, something that they can sink their teeth into. So I think what's going to happen is there's going to be like just these niche groups where there is going to be there's going to be a healthy market of people who will take the time to listen through a whole EP, and now it's up to the artist to find those people to market to instead of just throwing it out there in the wind and hoping it catches fire, because that mainstream majority of people looking through scrolling stuff, they're going to be more so of the type that's just like, if it's not impressive in 5 seconds, they hit next. But if you can find the people that are thirsty, they're the audiophiles, they're
one thing it does
cool.
do, it definitely frees up creativity though. One song at a time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's this risk of, no, not really a risk, but maybe a good. I was thinking about this. You put out a single, you do that and you do that, and then when you get about 8 of them, and you kind of work it and you budget it out or whatever, then you just print up vinyls of the singles.
Yeah. And that's a collection, and
then maybe that will be something like a part of the future to make it sustainable in some way.
Right. I think
because that would be cool.
What we talked about with Pino was different ways to go about that. How do you market like a string of singles? Because just artistically, you're usually writing more than one song at a time.
Right, and they could be written so many moons apart that at that point, like, you have a set of songs that are like in one specific vibe, and then you'll do another set of songs later. I mean, you write songs, so you know how it is, and then it'll be like, one
can be sitting on the shelf for years, and then you just like go back to it and be like, oh, I know exactly what to do with this.
Yeah,
even though you had writer's block.
You have like
when I first started it.
When you're like writing songs, you have like just like a voice memo recorder of just like stupid shitty ideas that never will see the light of day.
Filled up.
But then you I'll have some where it's like, go back to this one, and then I'll listen to it like months later. And it's like, okay, maybe that's an idea. But
I feel like that's the true test, is if your future self can still vibe with it. Because your present self is always going to have a little bit of the ego involved. It's like, I wrote this sounds pretty damn cool, right? I'm going to write this down. Or
your newest song's always your favorite song.
But if you can go back to it and your future self is like, I guess, there is something that's still kind of cool. But your future self can also be removed from that ego that wrote it and be like, what the hell was I thinking? That's the dumbest, most horrendous pile of rubbish.
Well,
rubbish that I've ever written.
Well, right. I mean, you have to be confident enough to be able to write the song, to be like, I'm good enough to write a song. Mm-hmm. But then you still have to tell yourself, oh man, like it's not. You have to like. It's like you have to know that you're good enough to write the song, but you can convince your ego that it's never there.
Right. You can
trick it almost.
Yeah.
But it's like a way of tricking it. Be like, you have to know that you're good enough to be capable to, even if you write 100 crap songs, one of them's gonna come out all right.
Yeah.
But also, it's a tricky thing, man. But the ones that I always go back to.
Everyone's method is different too.
Yeah. So how do you write a song? Like if you're sitting down to it, how do you get to it?
Me personally?
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. And most of the ideas stem from just me noodling, and I am not like consciously aware of what I'm doing. I just kind of zone out. It's like a meditative thing. Just like I let my fingers just do whatever they're gonna do, and then my ear catches something it's doing. It's like, what? Wait, do that again. Go, keep going, fingers, and then it'll just start developing, and then once my ear locks into it, that's when the brain is like, all right, there's so many different places we can go with this now. And then
when you get in those moments, you can't end like the writings. So if you leave that, and if you had an idea going that you felt was good, and then you walked away for like 3 hours and you came back, would that be helpful to you, or would that harm the process?
Depends on how quickly I walk away.
Like you're saying, like you kind of like channel that in that moment, but then when if you get frustrated with it, even though you're in a zone, have you ever done that?
Yeah. If I come to a wall and nothing's coming, and I'm like, starting to run out of ideas where to go with this, that's the next step is then to just walk away from it, because that's usually when the ideas start flooding in again. Is when you're away from, like, you're not holding the instrument, your mind is freed up.
Like when you lose your keys and then you're like obsessively looking for them, and then you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna walk away for a minute,
and then you remember.
Yeah, and then they're in your hand the whole time.
Or you always, what am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? I don't know what I'm forgetting. And then you finally get into your car. You're about to drive. I know what I forgot. The tickets. Kevin. Yes. Exactly. Some people wait until they're on the plane on the way to Florida to realize that their kid is.
And then a year later, the same situation in Paris.
Yeah.
Paris. Here we are, back to Paris. Yeah. Nothing good in France, I suppose.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Just a lot of...
The Eiffel Tower is awesome, but I've never been there.
No, me neither.
I actually, when we were in Virginia, though, we would eat dinner, and you could go. That's what's so cool. Like, technology is such a. It's not good or bad. It's neutral, and it's like you can use it for such cool things. So I'm sitting in Abingdon, Virginia, and I'm just like, having dinner with my wife. We like roll out this like pizza, and we did this whole thing, and then I said. Or no, it wasn't pizza because that would have been Italy. But either way, you could pull up a vibe on your phone, be like, oh, cafe ambiance in Paris, and then like you put it on the TV. Yeah, and then you just like, and you can have like people chatting in the background as you're like eating. It's like think about it. It's like, I guess that's almost like it's just a prototype of the Matrix.
Yeah. But then with Neuralink, we can just tap into that with like just a thought.
You can tap into that. I won't be doing that.
I'm not doing that.
I'm good, man.
No, that's when I start receding into the hills. And
I'm not going to be a floppy disk.
No.
I'm good.
That stuff's a little too scary. I'm hoping the aliens come and intercept all that before we get too into the weeds with that. But alright, that's a whole other digression that we could get into for hours.
The rabbit hole, man.
What I wanted to... because I love the idea. Now that we're on the singles idea, I wanted to throw this idea out for you. I think we talked about it with Pino, or I may have come up with it afterwards. But if you're going to do the singles thing, as a marketing tool or a promotional strategy, what if musicians start acting as if like an album of songs released as singles is like a season of music? Like a TV show, you get an episode a week.
And then you put it on a record.
Yeah.
Now, so if you could...
with bonus features, like interviews and stuff, and bloopers.
Well,
and
that's...
it's like we just hijack the TV format and put it into music. So, like, yeah, every artist is technically a show, and they can come out with however many seasons they want a year. Usually it's one season a year. You know? And they can just, like, all right, we're coming back. It's the fall. Get ready for eight more episodes, 8 more songs, or 10 more episodes, 10 more songs.
That's true. You could keep them in a theme because just like, well, right, because it is kind of, because that's one thing. Like I'll have songs that are just like folk numbers, but then I'll have songs that are not just folk numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess at one point you would have to gut a bunch of songs. So I guess 1+ now it's like you can do all of those songs.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm sure there's downsides, but you know, I kind of want to try it out. It's probably not going to work. Like, I need the full album. Right now, I'm just working on an EP, and it's going to be an EP, and I have singles, yada yada. The whole...
Jaded?
Yeah, Jaded. I'm re-recording that to be a full band.
You are?
Thing. Yeah, all the songs that were on the acoustic EP.
That's going to be
will
cool,
be
man.
re-recorded as.
So how long?
Full
When
band.
are you going to start? Have you started it?
Oh yeah, no, we're almost done with the meat of it. So I just got to finish vocals on a few songs, and then we're gonna do a rough mix. Just look at what needs more. So it's like, ooh, harmonies here. Ooh, that needs some guitar leads. It's like, ooh, that needs some like weird oohs or ahs, and then we finish it out. So we're almost there. I'm hoping for a summer.
How many
release.
songs?
It's gonna be 6.
Okay, that's awesome.
So 3 re-envisioned ones that were released, and then 3
re-envisioned as in like
well,
reimagined or like
just fully realized. I would say.
Like so.
Like the acoustic versions, right? Mostly.
Yeah, is it like is it a extrapolation on the acoustic version, or is it totally?
No, it's an extrapolation.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
So you full banded it.
I full banded it.
That's awesome.
And he's actually on one of them.
Are you on the keys, man?
I played bass on one.
Yeah, he played bass.
Oh,
yeah.
You didn't tell me you played bass. He said he. See, look at that.
Yeah. Dude, he's a multi-instrumentalist and a multi-camera man.
This guy does everything.
Duo camera.
Say hi, Josh.
Hi.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, so we talked about singles and stuff like that. Let's get back to more of your story, your travels. What compelled you to start traveling and start just going to Nashville, going to North Carolina, Virginia?
Well,
because you were based around here, right? In Illinois,
so
Chicago burbs area.
Yeah, so I always wanted to go on the road. My wife's a nurse. Dina's a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
She was working at Silver Cross Hospital, and I had stable work like all over Chicagoland, and then COVID happened. And then, but I always had a secret dream to go and bring music out there, and you know, Dina always had this curiosity to be a travel nurse. So when that happened and I lost all my work, I ended up unloading a truck at Target for about 6 or 7 months or so, and you know, kind of, you know, just like everybody else, trying to get through that initial rough season of all that, and just thinking about things and direction and all that, and you know, I'm just trying to get through the situation somehow. But anyways, it was actually my wife's. She knew I always had that interest, but I believe that she suggested, like, hey, you know, why don't we just look into this travel nursing thing, and maybe we can go somewhere where, you know, it's complicated, right? At the same, you want it to be safe, but you still need to go out and function and do what you have to do.
You can't just come to a screeching halt.
I know, it was hard.
For that long.
Yeah. It wasn't sustainable. So anyways, so we went down to Tennessee, and Dina got a travel job in Kingsport, Tennessee, and that's where we ended up. I was so I played around Kingsport, Tennessee. I discovered this town called Bristol, and essentially the music that I had to travelers, I felt that the music scene in Chicago is great. There's the people that love original music, love original music. It's
dwindled.
Yeah, I think that has to do with a lot of, you go.
There's many factors. Yeah.
There's many factors, and just the utility of, like, the city. When you go into a place that has slot machines and TVs and in the city, it's like I like to play at like breweries and things like that.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that.
Yeah, because
you like those kind of places.
no knock to the places that do that, but maybe they're more conducive for a full band show kind of deal. But the kind of music I'm writing and stuff, I felt that I wanted to bring it to people who are seeking out music, and there's tons of those people now. There's like 7 billion people in the world, right? So 7 billion people,
give or take a billion.
Yeah, right. There's like got to be an audience somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So I figured, what the hell? I'm gonna take the music out there. So that's what we decided to do. She was on this assignment. I dug my heels into town. I basically was driving everywhere up to like 3 hours to play a show. It's like just what I'm resigned to at this point.
Gotta have to.
And then, things started coming up, and ended up playing in Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and then we stayed there for about 26 weeks, and I had some new material I was working on, so then we said, you know what, we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna come back to Chicago, and I set up shows while I was back here with her, with my wife Dina, and I'm recording, playing, seeing awesome people. So, and then we're gonna be back to it. We're going to South Carolina in a few weeks. I got shows lined up there, and then we'll be back in Chicago for like a brief weekend, and then we're going to Texas, Austin, Texas.
Dude, that's my destination.
I've never been, but
dude, it is
I'm
one
really,
of the best cities.
I'm really stoked, man.
I'm
really stoked.
I'm stoked for you, but I'm
Oh,
also kind of peeved, if I must admit, because Joe motherfucking Rogan had to move down there and bring like half of America with him. So now Austin is starting to like just grow into this.
It's 1 million
huge
people
thing.
now,
and it's like, damn it, because I wanted to go down there. Like we've been going down there every summer for like the past 3 years, or at least you maybe 2. Plenty time before Joe Rogan was like, yeah, I'm gonna go down to Austin.
That's
and
right,
create
man.
this whole
That's
comedy
right.
thing. I'm like, damn it! The biggest podcaster just had to move down to the city I wanted to go to because of all the reasons. It's amazing. It's a lot. Like, it's still a city, but it's way less people. It's way more chill. People don't suck. They're nice. It's Texas.
but now you're used to Austin as it was before.
Yeah.
Like when
so
I
I'm
go
afraid
there,
that,
it's still gonna feel like small town compared to big city of Chicago, right?
Hopefully. I mean, there's been a huge mass.
Exodus.
There's been a mass exodus from all these places, and a lot of them went to Texas, either Austin, Dallas, or Houston. I mean, but Austin was one of the big ones. So I'm just hoping that it stays what I loved it as by the time.
The barbecue looks amazing.
Dude, the food will never
Seems like
change. That is amazing.
And I like that the music scene seems to be. It has a great
it's so diverse.
foundation of like authentic sounds.
Yeah.
But it seems, I mean, it's the music capital of the world, right? That's what they say.
At this point, I mean, the variety.
That's the thing. So it's like
insane. When you go down Sixth Street, it's just
How many
it's
times
like
have you been there, by the way?
3 or 4.
Okay.
At this point, for weekends and stuff. But if you go down 6th Street, which is basically like a Beale Street, it's just a street of bars and venues and maybe a pizza joint in between. But it's like they close off the street from like Thursday to Sunday just for human traffic, like just foot traffic, because it's so busy. Like, damn, that's the place to be. And there's like music happening in almost every bar, club, and it can go from EDM DJ club to here to one solo loop pedal guy across the street to a full like 90s band just down the.
So the creative potential is awesome.
Yeah, there's so much going on. There's you get your country too, but then there's also I saw blues, a few blues band there singing "Sweet Home Chicago," and I was like, where am I?
Hey, man.
And it was great.
So do people play Willie Nelson a lot?
Oh yeah, I've heard a lot of Willie Nelson back here. Right?
Why is that funny, Josh? Is that a cliche question?
This makes me think of a professor I had in college who always talked about Willie Nelson.
What about him?
Did he live in
He just
Austin?
loved it.
What do you love about him? Willie Nelson's cool, but I
Yeah.
have my own reasons for that.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was years ago. He just loved Willie Nelson a lot.
What do you think
He's a
about Willie
jazz guy.
Nelson?
I have not listened to much Willie Nelson, although I know he's very iconic.
That was the right way to put it. I know he's iconic, but I can't say if he's good or bad.
There's some blasphemy happening behind the camera. But no, that's awesome that you're eventually going to be landing in Austin. Yeah, you'll find some cool gigs there. So, what do you have a time frame about like this new music when the next song's coming out? Because you just
I'm
recently
putting out-
put out a song.
Yeah, I put out The Hill on December 4th. I did that last year. And then summer's coming up, and I have a tune called Endless Summer I'm going to put out.
That feels appropriate.
I'm putting it at the beginning of summer. But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's just a light tune, man, because I feel like last year was just so freaking heavy, man.
What happened last year? Everyone keeps bringing up 2020 as I don't know.
It's just a blur, man.
Yeah, I guess. I've repressed it all.
Now you know it's traumatizing. It's like it's blacked out.
Yeah.
But no, so yeah, it's just a feel good tune. I've got that lined up, and then I've got another song that I really, I feel is something special. So I want to do something more elaborate with it. I want to do some kind of music video for not this next coming single, but the next one. But the one I'm putting out now, I'm trying to figure out. I got to get the artwork gathered, and that should be within, I'm thinking, a month or so. I'm gonna start the process of putting that out, and then.
Have you been like recording your journeys at all, like through little?
Dude,
phone
I've been
videos that you
thinking,
could
like, I
compile
should be
into a
doing
music
that,
video?
shouldn't I? Into
Yeah,
a
maybe
music
it'd be fun.
video? That's true. Like,
Maybe
do
start.
you like doing video on social media? Like, how do you? What's
I don't like
overkill?
doing anything on social media.
Yeah.
It's a necessity, though. I have to do it. I pull my teeth out to do it.
That's the thing. When I used to do on Facebook, when I would make events, I would use when I first started making events on Facebook, even I would just use the same picture and then just do it. But then eventually, I realized, oh man, people are like, they just they want to see different things, I suppose. So they just gotta take the time to do that. But little things like that matter. But I was talking to somebody that said, video is the way to go. Like the way that this podcast is set up. It's like
People like
it's at a
video
home.
options.
Yeah.
People like to see what they're hearing.
Hey, I'm real. I'm not just online. Even though you're watching this
Tangible.
online.
It's real. Maybe one day it won't be though. Anyways,
Dan.
I'll write a song about it. Yeah. I had another question about the traveling thing, but it escaped me.
I met nice people.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring up like what has been like the most impactful encounter, memory, show on the road, and what has been like one of the most just comically bad. So what's like a highlight and what's a
So a
like,
highlight
ooh, let's avoid
is-
that next time.
A highlight on the road is when it seems like when you go to these new towns and you play a show. It was nice. A highlight for me was I always wanted to bring my original music and just see what it could do. And I started playing my original music, and people preferred it when I left. They're asking me for it. So that was really nice because, I believe in what I'm doing, of course, but it's when you're just in your home, like when you're just at home, you don't really have an objective view of yourself, like you were talking about. to really to say how can I look at myself objectively? What do I need to improve? What am I good at? Blah blah blah. So I felt like that was the most, what was the way you framed it? The most impactful thing was for me to get an objective view of, all right, this is the right next thing. You're doing the right thing. So
you're getting the
the
validation, the encouragement.
Yeah, like to keep writing, keep going. And you could always write better music. You could just keep doing that forever. But it was nice to know that I was able to take the show to the road, and I didn't end up becoming. That's a nice feeling when people ask you for your own songs.
Right.
So, and I want to thank people from Chicago who always were coming out to the shows. That specifically always asked me to play my original music, and there was quite a few of those in the area. So, so there are people around all over the place that look for it, but it seemed to be in smaller towns, at least where I ended up playing at. I don't know if it's a smaller town thing or just the culture there. Like, there's an appreciation for music that that's more than ornamental on a wall or a piece of, you know what I'm saying? Right. They really latch on to it. So that was really impactful for me to know that even in an era of, no attention spans like you were talking about, that there's still people seeking that kind of sacred space through music in a meaningful way.
Do you think it's because in smaller towns there's more often a more tight-knit community, and so they experience the connection, they feed off of the connection, and so when they see a musician come in, they want to connect, so they are more appreciative of the original stuff, because how much more connected can you get with an artist than hear the songs that they wrote?
Right, and that's what's cool.
In a city, in a city culture, it's like, you're on top of each other, but it can be very isolating because there are so many people. It's, you can easily disappear, and the kind of like connection starts actually getting broken apart because of excess of people. But when you're in a small town and everyone kind of knows everyone, at least by extension of somebody else or maybe two other people.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting thing.
There's like I feel like a more, you're more susceptible to want to connect to things. So maybe that's why in the small towns people seek out the original music more than they would in like a big ass city.
Yeah, and that's true. And it's just strange. Yeah, so
that's just me,
talking. I'm
talking.
I mean, that's a good. I mean, that is a good thing. Like, that's a good line of thought. Because I was thinking, it's not that. Yeah, they're not seeking it out the same. Mm-hmm. So I feel, but maybe that has to do with, there's just so much going on, and I don't know. Maybe it's just a matter of. Well, I mean, think about Chicago, the dominant scene. I don't even know. Like, where's the scene now? Because like the
I mean, I'm not a city boy, but I would say the scenes that have the biggest foothold is always going to be like EDM stuff.
For
it's
sure.
Always going to have a place. And then cover bands, and then country.
That's really the issue.
Really
That's
weird.
Another thing.
Then as far as like just regular, like the closest thing that can be associated to like just rock or like original like songwriters and stuff, kind of, not even really, but like emo pop punk, like that has also a foothold in the city, but like not really anything else.
But onto that point,
maybe
about
a jam band.
I think it might have to do with like live music too.
Yeah.
Because, like you're saying, there's a higher EDM culture and more towards an electronic bent, and more, I guess, metropolis areas. Would that be? I would imagine.
Yeah.
Like, because that's like the edge of culture. So
right.
Maybe that's what it is. Like the, it's you can go to a rave and hear an EDM, but you can't recreate EDM on the acoustic. So like you'd have to go, but there's tons of people that are interested in it,
Right.
and because that's not the dominant culture in a city setting. Of course, there's an audience for it all the time, and I still could get work, but it wasn't like you go to this place. It's not like, yeah, it's crazy. You go to a lot of places there, and you could jump from place to place, and they would still be receptive. It just seemed, I don't know. It was really nice. It was really nice. So I liked it, and I actually played Wonderwall to somebody who had never heard Wonderwall.
What?
Yeah. So I actually was like,
thing?
I said, "What do you think about that?" Wow. Like, because I said I never met anybody who had never heard Wonderwall. So I played it, just because of that sheer curiosity.
Yeah.
And I always told myself, I'm not going to play Wonderwall unless I'm asked to.
Yeah.
I guess I spoke too soon.
Yeah, and that night.
Yeah, so I
It's
played
like,
it, and I said, his name was Larry. I said, Larry, what'd you think? He goes, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's so cool because, it's just like everything. When everybody says something's good, it's like, even if you think it's like whatever, I think Wonderwall's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I don't have the perspective of having heard it the first time.
Right.
All of my embrace of it is because, how much are we all like that? I like this because
of some other influence or some kind of...
Yeah, like, I'm sure we all fall... this is another line of thinking altogether.
Yeah.
But anyway, so back to the thing. That was the most eye-opening thing, that people are still really, really connecting to the music. And I don't know. That's really cool.
Yeah. I think there's... that's going to just keep happening. That thirst, the hunger for something original that people can latch onto, because another line of thinking that I'm just going to shoot out. I haven't really thought too much into it, but let's try it out. After the past year we've been in, this stuff happened. There's some divisiveness, a little bit here and there.
Sure.
Maybe some
Are we
polarizing
gonna need more
things.
wine for this?
Yeah, maybe. People were like hyper alert to everything that was being fed to them. They went to Facebook, and they just took whatever was fed to them, and it was always usually like negative or polarizing or something that was going to get them like heated up.
Right.
It was just what the times were. We had a very polarizing climate, and so the algorithms reflect that. It's not the algorithm's fault. It's just doing what it's supposed to be doing. But people for years just kept getting the same thing just pumped into them.
Well, how
and
much can your
finally,
your beliefs can, like, if you put, like, if the algorithm is curating everybody's particular taste to what they like, eventually it's gonna be algorithmated to where everybody who thinks the exact same is gonna be put into an echo chamber.
Yeah.
On both sides of the paradigm, and then the information, and then it's gonna get into groupthink online, and then what you end up having is like 50 segregation, but online.
Yeah, I think
and
people,
then you just people get crazy and extreme because they feel that they could voice opinions that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have in real life without being more nuanced and explaining themselves in person.
Exactly. And I think the silver lining that I'm at least clinging onto is, think of what you will about Biden and Democrats getting a hold of whatever, the House and everything.
The world.
Yeah. Getting those chips implanted in you. But because Biden's the kind of guy to just shut up and not say anything really, and that could be because he's like old as hell and doesn't want to. It could be a smart strategy if it's like, maybe I'm just not going to say anything because everything gets polarized. I'm just going to do what I do, and then people will just get it from the journalists and the news. But like, I'm not going to be on Twitter all the time, and I think that gave people a chance to just breathe. You can still have your disagreements, and but like, it wasn't an everyday tweet that was like, "What did he just say? What?"
Well, that's the
it's
question,
like,
right? Do people
Yeah.
in positions of power, should they be? You know, because that whole angle was, well, I'm being transparent. But what was the cost of that
Right.
transparency?
Yeah.
Now that's the big question. But you could extrapolate on that too to like things like, oh well, NSA, or like, you know, like you could use that same logic to create whatever defenses of what kind of behavior you want to.
Right.
But in that
Before we get too
particular
into the weeds with
situation-
that, though.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
that- we
You
can
brought
get
it
into-
up, man.
I know, but just to make the point where, with that chance to breathe and not everything being so heated every single day, people lost interest in it. Like they were able to look away from the screen and realize, like, what the hell have I been doing for the past like 3-4 years? Like, I need something new.
Well, right.
I need to go like.
Yeah.
And so I think people are hungry to discover something that's like, that they can say like, ooh, I found this, or ooh, that's something that's new. I like that. I'm gonna start sharing that to people because I can say, like, you know, when you're in high school, you get kind of prideful over your musical library because it's like,
yeah,
it's mine. I discovered it, and you better like it because I discovered it. And screw you if you don't. My Chemical Romance is the best. I'm like, all right, man, I get it. They have a cool
Sum
cool
41.
Sum 41. You know, I'm gonna like Blink-182 until the day I die. I don't care. And Breaking Benjamin. Yeah, that one's even more like.
See, that was never.
Forever.
I'm familiar
But,
with the names, but I never got into that music.
Yeah, I was.
I don't know if I
was
like
very
it or
diverse.
not. I just never really explored it.
Well, I'll throw you some albums.
Cool.
But yeah, I think people are kind of reverting back to that prideful
And
discovery where it's like they
Yeah.
want to discover something new.
And
because
also because
they're not
we're
glued to the
yeah.
next, you know, news story that's gonna get them into arguments with their family or whatever. Like they have a chance to look at other stuff.
Yeah, I mean you have to.
So I'm hoping that trend is going to continue, and there'll be so much more room and capacity for people to want to get into like new original music again, and give the local artists a chance again.
I think so.
And I think it's gonna happen.
Well, on that same
And,
token, it's
yeah.
always, you know, on one hand, it's like, oh, I hope the people start listening to music. Yes. You know, or seeking more solace in music when they realize how, like. But on the other hand, hopefully this time actually causes people who do create music to create meaningful music.
Yes.
Because of everything that they're going. I mean, you know, the artist has to express those things, I would imagine.
Right.
Or at least that's kind of what culture says, like, well, if that's what you're doing, then you have to, you know, trying to speak to, you know, I guess that's why. So hopefully there'll be this nice meetup of people more seeking, you know, solace in meaningful music, and the creators that are making this art, you know, I guess being bold enough to be real about how they're feeling.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what I've been trying to work on too, you know, and that's tricky.
It is, yeah. And I think that it'll just become a virtuous cycle rather than a vicious one that it has been. I think it'll be a little bit of both. People will be wanting the more authentic stuff because they have been able to step away, and now when you come back with fresh eyes, you realize, like, oh, well, this person is full of shit or whatever. This person's just fake. Or like you can kind of tell when somebody's being disingenuous and like,
Yeah.
ooh, this kind of like is cheesy or gimmicky, and it's like, whatever. And then that will also lead to more artists stopping themselves to try to just fit into whatever will get them into the algorithm. Because I feel like there's a lot of artists that do try to just, you know, make themselves into something that could be marketable or something that could be viral or whatever. It's like, is that really you, or like are you just doing that because you think it'll get you more views?
I know, and like, well, especially now. Well, it's kind of strange because I feel like, how do you? I mean, what is the future of music, right? Like, where does it really, really go? Is it gonna just be all machines doing everything, or is it going to be this weird hybrid? See, I'm okay.
It could be a hybrid.
See, my thing, like, I'm okay with the hybrid thing
Mm-hmm.
in regards to music if you keep the base of it human.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Well, they just did a recent like experiment with AI generated songs from past musicians, where they put a AI and they gave the AI like all the discography of like Nirvana and Amy Winehouse and
All the legends.
somebody else, I forgot, but like yeah, you just get you feed the AI all this all the music, and then you have it just spit out, try and recreate something just as good using.
Are there vocals?
Yeah, it like uses the
okay, it's like recreates that too.
Yeah,
Kinda.
I guess so. And when it's a little misleading because when you hear the songs, well, the Amy Winehouse one was pretty good.
Okay.
The Nirvana one still sounded like shit. It was like, but and then you read further and it's like there was humans that had to kind of like reorganize the song to actually make
like
it.
in Pro Tools or whatever.
Yeah, they kind of like did some more
yeah.
studio magic to make it even sound more like it. So it's like the AI might be able to recreate something semi-faithfully just by the books and just by patterns.
But can AI ever innovate?
Yeah, I don't.
Can it ever? Is its intelligence just based on gathering information already out there? But what's the basis of intelligence, right? Is it just the thing seeking what's already been there, or is it a matter of acquiring something that wasn't already there? Like if the AI gets smarter and smarter, what is it doing? Is it actually like?
Is it actually learning, or is it just kind of like recreating patterns in different ways and just kind of using what it already knows to?
Right, like isn't the sum of all AI basically the sum of all human thought?
Wasn't that new human thought too? Like
It's
human thinking is based on just what's put into it.
Right, like if you want
Right.
art, like that's what I mean by the technology is neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that we have we have this Prometheus thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're taking fire from the gods,
Right.
and maybe that's an allowance, but then it's almost like a test. Like, so what are you going to do with this? Because it's like you could
I do think it's
you
a
could
test.
use this to liberate humanity,
Right. I mean,
or
there's
you
so
could
much-
use it to do the complete opposite. Now it depends on the intentions behind. Right? People act like the ethics and all that's not related to that, but it is related to science because what's driving the science?
Integral.
Yeah, what's driving it? Right? Like what's driving the AI thing? Is it to say, it's a bygone era, or is it to help humans and they're figuring out who they really are and where they came from?
Right.
Right? And like that's the big question that I feel like isn't taken seriously at all. Like nobody really asks about it. What are we striving for? Anyway, these are that's a definite sideline note, but anyways, it's kind of segued into what you were talking about in like regards to music and kind of doing that. But back to the thing about the traveling, it's like you're in the city. It's like that line and like how are you supposed to stand out when everybody gets dressed up? Like you might be making great music in the city, but there's so many flashing lights.
Yeah.
Like then it's maybe like maybe I'll leave and just yell from the sidelines.
Yep. Yeah.
Then y'all can hear me. Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of. So it seems that method.
Feel that.
Even though I secretly had that, COVID kind of, that was the opportunity. It's like, all right, now I'm gonna just go over here in the wilderness and scream back at everybody. You ever seen Nacho Libre?
Yeah.
Where he's like walking in the desert. He turns around and he's like 3 feet away from his house. Hey.
Dude, Jack Black, man. He's a gem. He's a gift.
He's so funny.
Absolutely.
Dude, but no, I love, that can be super inspiring, your little adventure, your tale of adventure, because you took initiative. You realize that it's like, I can't do even if I know I'm just trying to get by with the Target, unloading boxes and stuff, I'm just like, I need the income, I just need to do it. At a certain point, you just realize it's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, and a lot of people come to that realization, but still stick. They can't take the leap So what? I mean, I'm sure it was, your drive and your passion, also with a boost from your wife. But was there also just what? Was there like a moment where you just knew it's like, all right, yeah, like this is happening. I have to do it. I have to do it because if I don't, then I
Honestly,
will
man,
live in regret.
ever since I was growing up, I was in this fucked up situation. I got out of the fucked up situation, and I told myself, if I can get out of this situation, I can do anything. And I haven't been proven wrong yet.
That's awesome. Dude, that's a soundbite right there. Dude, no, that's the mentality that people need to have, is they need to have the confidence in themselves.
But
like
I would say that I'm saying that, and I truly believe that,
Mm-hmm.
but that the price of that is, I don't know if I'm working on a new song that you got a little hint about.
Yeah.
So, I think that's, that's like, you hate when this shit happens, right? When tragedies happen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, the long of the short is I grew up in foster care and I started writing songs because that's pure religion to me. So I took that, and then that's all I know how to do. So for me personally, like, I don't really think about a B option, because if it's a B option, then I can do anything if it doesn't work out. Like, why do I need to focus on what my B option is if it's a B option?
Yeah.
That's how I, So I'm sure that there's people who have thought that way, or like, haha, But so far, it's like, hey, man. But
no, I get what you're saying, and yeah, it usually does take something
but
tragic,
but
or
you have to,
phenomenally
it's like alchemy.
hard.
But some people will maybe go through something that's tragic in their lives, and they let their resentment overtake them
and become bitter.
Yeah, man.
And then they lose all the.
But you start to realize, like, this is where, like, those old alchemists used to, I don't know if like, I love this kind of stuff, where like the idea of turning lead into gold.
You can do that.
Well, I don't know. They say Saint Germain did it, but this is different. This is a different thing. But Saint Germain, the Wonder Man of Europe, but people think he was really Francis Bacon. Anyway, it's a lot like Francis Bacon was Shakespeare. This is all different. Right. This is all. Anyways,
Saint Germain was that character in the 3rd season of Dracula, right?
See what I mean?
Castlevania.
Yeah. No, but.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I mean, but there's like that, like back in medieval times, right? They were like, they were like, ooh, the alchemists or whatever. But the symbolic interpretation is like turning lead from gold, so you could, like, think about that internally. So that's what I've been trying to do in a sense. So if you're walking around with a heavy piece of lead,
turning into gold.
Yes, but how do you? That's it. But I mean,
it's a tall order.
Yeah, man. It's like you go, I don't know about you, but for me, it's like, it's like you go, I was in foster care until I was like 3. Then I went to another home, and then I'm like, you know what, man? If I look back now, I'm like, I'm a kid in these situations. If I could handle that, like, okay,
yeah.
Like, how much? Like, that doesn't break me. Then, like, what other external thing could possibly break my spirit, other than my own yes to buckle under the pressure? But I would never say yes to that.
Right. I mean,
but maybe I wouldn't have been. And so I don't know if am I that person because that's just how I am, or am I that person because of these things?
Because of the experiences. I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think it takes something inherent within people to overcome tragedy and stuff like that, to get that determination, to get that confidence, to get that perspective. Because you're right, there are people who get struck with tragedy, and it turns them into resentful and bitter people.
Right, like people, like in my family, it's like, okay, somebody like my mother, right?
Mhm.
So she's a street person and all that. It's like step back, you could say, but there's lots of examples like that. And this is another eye-opening thing that I noticed in the South, that I linked up to my whole like spiritual unraveling about, about this kind of thing. As I went to the South, and and you could drive through the poorest areas of the South, like, which would be the equivalent of like ghettos.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see the same kind of ghetto scenes in the North. And both of these prospective, ghettos are literally preaching, at least externally, the opposite ideologies. But as I witnessed this, I thought to myself, but why is the external situation the same, even though, one's coming from this angle, another one's coming from that angle, so it must be something deeper.
Mm.
And so I was able to take my theory about, like, when you take resentment, and to me, that was some kind of, like, proof number one of there is something deeper, because it doesn't matter what you say, it's like what's in your heart.
Right.
So, not that I don't struggle with, painful memories and resentments and stuff like that. Just like, if you've ever been through something like that, right? You don't have to get specific, but I want to at least know that, like, where I'm coming from.
I know where you're coming from.
Like,
yeah, something
happens to you and you feel like, how do you, you have two choices. So basically, one thing I had I came to this realization of, you could always be empathetic. Some people will be in a tragic situation, and then they'll leave a tragic situation and, like, come some quote unquote make it out of that situation. Yeah. And then they will. It's almost like religious hypocrites who, they say, I'm saved, therefore I want to get raptured out. Like, that's what being a Christian is, or like, it's like, but dude, don't even get, like, that's a different thing. But the point is when you're supposed to help other people, is what I'm getting at.
Right.
So if you're able to take tragedy, people will be like, the religious types of people will be like, oh man, like, it's like, dude, following true religion is like, everybody has something that happens to them, but how do you bear those things? Because it doesn't really matter what your reasons are, or even if you have 100% justification for your anger. And even if everybody in the world agrees with you, right, it's still your existence in your eyes, and it's your experience. So who cares if everybody sympathizes with you or not? Right. Or is that too objective in your view?
The way I always looked at it when somebody's... Because if people know my story, they know that it's not a walk in the park or a breezy day. But I usually describe it as, at least with the decision, it's like you're dealt a hand of cards. You don't have any choice in what you draw. It's in the grand scheme of,
like, you didn't choose to be born.
Yeah, I didn't choose any of this. I just drew the hand.
So that's the question. How do you feel about that, right? So none of us chose to be born. Now it's like not even to be or not to be, like, but it's like that's what you're saying.
When I'm looking at the hand, I can either fold, which is a guarantee loss. Why would I do that?
But what would keep you from playing? What would keep the fuel going to even play the game?
I ain't a bitch.
But like you need something to be like, like, like something to be the fuel. So what's going to be the fuel? For me, it was like, all right, I need to figure out how to distill this down. It's almost like,
we need a better analogy. The cards thing is too elementary. It's either you
what I'm saying is what you said.
Need the fuel.
Okay, you're dealt the hand, which means you're dealt this experience that you're calling life, and you say, I didn't choose it. It's the same thing. from that, that's like the first question that everybody would have to answer. All right, do I resent this? Waking up, my eyes, you know.
When you bring it down to the to the
like, what's
most
the question?
foundational.
And if you don't
experience.
resent like your perceptions and what you're experiencing, how do you make that optimal? Or if you do resent things and you don't want to, and you still want to make it work, if you're going to be miserable either way, you might as well try to be happy and then explode.
That was like, I know it works for me personally, but on like a grand scheme of things, like on a philosophical standpoint, as we're talking right now, it seems like the way to go. The reasoning, the logic would be, well, one choice is a guaranteed lose situation. You give into anger, you give into hate, you fall to the dark side. Anyways, but it's like a guarantee, like you lose, and you're just gonna keep feeding into your own loss, and you're just gonna keep letting that fuel more bitterness and more resentment. Or you can just keep trying, because even if you keep falling, like, it's better than just giving up.
Well,
like,
people will resent the falling, but
yeah,
but is that something really? See, that's almost like, what somebody says. What somebody says, like, oh, good and evil, or something like that. It's like, well, what is evil but the absence of what you would say is good conditions in your life? That's what people call evil.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And acts. It's not always just the absence of good, but it could be the introduction of evil.
Like I guess, like, good would have principles, but like this, because, like, I guess that doesn't have anything to stand on, because bad doesn't ever have principles. It doesn't have any of those things.
Right. Well, now you're getting into the whole, like, problem of evil argument, where it's like, you can't have one without the other. They have to exist in the yin and yang.
But they don't have. But that's what I mean. Can you take, like, maybe it's like when tragedy happens, and then that's when your mind can get kind of go off on a tangent. When tragedy happens, and then your focus becomes the tragedy. But then doesn't that open your eyes up to, negative experiences if you're reliving that in your mind? Then eventually, if that's all you focus on, you're just going to have this cycle of resentment.
Right.
But
And
then
that's
that
a
means you're
vicious
not...
circle.
Right. So, it's maybe like an appropriation of awareness at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it's a matter of choice. It's a matter of perspective and awareness of what the choices are, and turning a vicious circle into a virtuous one. I mean, that's the game of life.
I met a buddy in Bristol, Tennessee. His name's Zeke. If you're out there, hey, man. But he took me on a nice hike about, like, on a mountain called Roan Mountain, and we were sitting up there and just kind of chatting. Like, we were talking about kind of this idea, and he told me that he had a red Jeep. Or, like, I knew he had a red Jeep because we drove up to Roan Mountain, and the conversation kind of had revolved around, like, when you own a car, what kind of car do you drive?
Ford Focus.
Okay, but when you drive around, you probably notice all the Ford Focuses that look just like yours.
Yes.
You're more aware of them.
Yes.
So the question is, did you manifest them, or were they always there? But even more importantly, does that really matter? The point is that you are more aware of them at the expense of something else. So maybe that's how it is with a lot of things. What are we aware of? Maybe it's not a matter of, like, trying to get something to externally come to you. Maybe it's a matter of being aware of what's already there.
I mean, yeah, that
I don't know.
Well, that speaks to how many people do you know that never really got hit with tragedy and are just kind of having a nice breezy life. Their parents make really good money. Their college fund is taken care of.
But maybe that's their tragedy.
Maybe for some people. I mean, you got the Titanic lady who, like, just wanted to be poor.
The Titanic lady? Wait.
Rose always complained about being rich.
Oh yeah.
It's like, so she kind of, like, all right, cool. But no, you know people, or at least I know people that like, yeah, they don't have any awareness. They don't have any perspective because they have had such a breezy upbringing. Opportunities were provided. They never had to struggle. There's never a worry financially or socially or whatever. And those people are the most boring and lazy people, or just, even that, less offensive, just unaware of people. They are the most unaware people I've ever met. They don't know, like, when they say things, it's just like, how ignorant can you be? But all the people that I know that have experienced some crazy tragedy or a struggle, they're way easier to talk to because they have much more perspective and awareness, and they just can see more of the situation. They can see the nuances, whereas somebody who hasn't had any of those struggles or hurdles, they just bitch out at like the smallest thing. Something doesn't go their way, and they're like, "What? It's the end of the world." I'm like, "You want to see the end of the world?"
Well, maybe I mean, like, then that's the question. If a part of the human experience is to experience suffering, like, would a person ever, would they really be a human if they didn't experience some kind of suffering physically or emotionally? Like, isn't that part of the whole experience? So I would say that's my baseline philosophy about that. So when I would take that to like what you were saying, to like kind of go to kind of entertain that and add on to it. Is it possible? Oh man, sorry, because this is like we're in this space, but
we're in.
You know what I'm saying? Hold on, let me see. So people who like you would say, oh, maybe I would say in that, like, the personal individual, like, that is relative to, I might think someone's crazy for thinking or feeling the way that they feel, but the fact is, if they have thoughts and they're attaching feelings to it, and they're identifying themselves with feelings, I mean, that's their reality. So, that's real for them. So even if, like, you would, you could compare traumas objectively or whatever.
Right.
Either way, I would say everybody's traumatized, but maybe the people that can get along are the ones that are honest about it. Or in the sense, or because how many people would be like, oh, well, at least I'm not like this person or I'm like that person. But based on like, what scale are you talking about? Based on what you think is good or bad? Like, So if you have to try to step back from that, I suppose. But the only way to do that is to assume that nobody, like, that's tricky. Like, assume that everybody has the same moon. That's how I always be like everybody has a moon. I read this somewhere, so it's not my own thought. But is anybody's thoughts really their own?
We already covered that.
Yeah, see? Oh, yeah, we did. No, but I like the idea that, every person is supposed to be reflecting the sun, if you want to put it that way.
Okay.
And then, so if everyone's a moon, but it's like everybody has cloud, like, how much cloud coverage are you going to let cover it? And then people would think, like, oh, dude, you don't even have the moon. It's like, no, the moon's always there, except I'm always, like, cloudy. But then could you convince somebody that, can somebody get so cloudy in their thinking and so cloudy in their resentment that they forget that they had access to the moon to reflect the light? What do you think, Josh?
Josh?
That's beautiful.
What do you think?
That's fantastic.
No, I meant like...
No, legitimately. Like, there's the mantra that...
Speak a little bit louder just so that you get picked up.
Sure. There's the mantra of life is suffering, right? That's a Buddhist mantra. And so if someone were to this idea of cloudy, like being cloudy, kind of hiding behind a veil, makes me think of this idea that I thought of a while ago, and that's like this idea of like holding, like people kind of like hold, and whether it's onto trauma or whether it's onto this some sort of idea that they are like some sort of victim of something, which is always, you know, there's always some sort of truth in that, I think.
For sure.
It's that same sort of idea, and like at some point the individual has to like either kind of loosen the grip or just kind of like let it go, and then that allows them to kind of open up and kind of be more authentic to themselves. So it's a really interesting idea that and there's so many different things that can kind of feed into that, and I brought it up one time on the show with like the things that you see and the things that you visually consume is like your psychological diet.
Oh,
right?
yeah, totally.
Yeah. And so like going back to the idea of intellect, like in my opinion, intellect is the synthesis of every piece of information that you can like see, hear, taste, etc., etc. Even just feel, like, because everybody has some sort of like aura, and the people that you surround yourself with are like, you kind of like feed into each other's aura, so to speak. So very fascinating.
Like vibe attracts tribe, but
Yeah.
like a serious level.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, man.
let me try and wrap this all up in a nice little bow. I'm going to try.
This has been really fun.
This has been amazing. But, so, where do I start? All right. I think, genuinely, authentically, that everyone, like you said, does have a moon. And everyone is, like Josh said, holding on maybe too tightly to something. To something that might be clouding up that reflectiveness, that luminosity that everyone has potential to show.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
I think now is the best time, after everything we had just experienced with all the shit that doesn't need to be said in the past year,
Exactly.
whatever. It's time for everyone to loosen the grip, let their own self, their own moon, illuminate and shine unapologetically. So, not through a filter of whatever they're holding on to, not through a filter of what BS they're consuming or being fed, but just letting what they actually are, let that be. And I think that can be done most effectively, or maybe not most, efficiently, with arts.
Yeah.
I think now is going to be a great time, hopefully a renaissance, if you will, with art, visual art, music, film, television, storytelling, just all of that. I think now's the time, and I think it's being shown. I mean, from the stories that you've told, people are connecting more with your originals. They're asking for it. That's a huge compliment, but it's also like,
it's a testimony to the people, like
right?
you're saying, like
Exactly.
they're like, people, but that's encouraging for all artists. Like
Everyone.
just
Yes.
just create,
Right.
create, and don't let when don't create. That's the thing. Everybody has perceptions about other people and their external environment. That's fine, but what's your perspective on yourself? And is it really, things you should be holding on to, or is it something that somebody told you?
Right.
How many people will walk around and be like, I'm always this way. But it's like, but how do you know you're always that way? Because you just keep affirming it to yourself because
Right.
other people told you that you wouldn't be who you are if you didn't do that.
Put your real self out there.
Or at least you have the right to...
Or discover yourself.
You have the right to do that.
Yeah, you have a right.
And it's like, so So the same thing with like this COVID thing where you got to where like everybody just kind of like was like go inside and then everyone was just consuming inflammatory content. But it's like because John Lennon back in the days he said if everybody asked for peace instead of a new TV, the world would have it. But then I would say like let's extrapolate on that. Like because humans are the way they are, they're always going to want that instead. It seems.
Maybe.
But
maybe
why don't we
use...
right but that's what I mean. The technology is neutral.
Yeah.
Use the TV. Dude, look how much they showed. Look how much we came to, sure, it's like it's in the up and up. But look at the process of how we solved this problem that we had over the past year. And like how we're coming out of it. Okay. Wow. Oh, why don't you show us on TV 24/7 all of the hungry people in the world and make us come up with the solution to stop throwing out 50% of food in America and stop telling me that there's too many people when we throw out enough food to feed the whole world.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't, don't quote me on that stuff.
No, but
I'm saying,
it's a very good
like,
point.
I'm not saying we should focus on this more than that, but all I'm saying is, so obviously when you want to use the tool for something, so that my problem is like more people need to be using their own minds to decide what they care about.
Exactly.
And things that we need to care about are things that don't just affect us because like our individual lives.
Right.
Because, if somebody else needs help, like that's what you need to, love your neighbor as yourself doesn't mean like I love my neighbors who look like me or think like me or act like me. It means that if you were that person, even if you thought of them as the most detestable person in the world, how would you hope somebody would treat you? And people act like that's so simple, but it's like to live, it's not, and everybody's trying to do that every day. But I feel like that's what it really is about. And if we could really try to do that more often, we might be happier. Like if we trust other people more, maybe people will trust us more. Like how do we know? And these are all things that we all have to discover on our own. Is it like, and if there is any conspiracy, it's like to prevent us from knowing who we are, because it's so self-evident with the distractions. Mm-hmm. That's the only conspiracy that really even matters, because even if the worst thing in the world was happening right now, you can't take away who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you're saying.
Like, it just depends on how much do people want to identify with external principles. Like when you say I, it's like people are so like think about it in a sense of, when some crazy like I think the monks have it wrong. They'll be like or like people who are egocentric spirit like I'm nothing. It's like, dude, no. Like that's like your ego is trying to justify itself by trying to act like it's holier than it should be. But wouldn't the reality be like I'm no thing? I wouldn't identify myself to a particular thing. Like, I mean, would you want to limit yourself like that in your own mind? Like, I'm a musician. Like, yeah, that's one aspect, but why would I want to limit myself there? Like,
and that's something that we fell into a rut.
So I'm no thing. I'm nothing.
As a culture, as a country, I mean, that's the exact pitfall that everyone fell into, is that they became so obsessed with the I and who I are and what it became
what
super
is that
tribal.
I be like? What is that observer?
Yeah, it's like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. I'm like, I don't care what you think you are. It's more about like what you do and how you treat people.
There's a quote: "What you are speaks so loudly that I can't hear a thing you say."
Boom. Write a song about that. All right, man. We covered a lot of good stuff. That's
so far. Keep your ears. I'm doing one song at a time from here on out until I decide to do some kind of compilation thing. Keep your ears open for a song called "Endless Summer." I want to thank you for thinking of me and having me on the show, Josh.
Yeah, man. Dude, thanks for
running
coming
the
out.
great sound.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy that we could work this out, because I know you were in town for only a short amount of time. So when I just was like, "Yo, you want to chill this week?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Actually, we're planning on filming an episode. You want to just come on the show?"
So this is very impromptu. So if the conversation's a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't have any notes. We were just like, let's do it.
Honestly,
why not?
Those are my favorite. Dude,
I
it's
see.
like,
I
I just
love
want to
what
talk
just
about what's
happened here.
going on, man.
So yeah, I don't know if
Quote a
we'll
phrase.
I don't know if we'll intersperse songs here. We'll open with a song, probably, so people can get a taste of your music and fall in love with it. And then, but everyone, go check out Jack Byron's music on all streaming platforms, or at least the major ones, I'm sure. All of them. Check out his latest song, The Hill. Follow his pages, Jack Byron Music, Instagram, Facebook, and do you have anything else? I mean, YouTube? Maybe?
Instagram. I have a YouTube. I mean,
Mostly Instagram.
Is
and
everybody
Facebook.
like that?
Mm.
I mean, unless you're. How do you do that? Do you hyper focus on? I have
That's
a
pushing it out
YouTube.
there.
Yeah, that's kind of. I mostly do Facebook and Instagram,
Yeah.
and then email. I have a website, jackbyron.com.
Boom. Follow him there to stay in the latest and be the first to listen to all of his new music that he's going to be popping out soon.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Jack, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's been amazing. It was awesome. Thank you, Josh.
Always fun conversations,
I know,
man.
man. All right. We'll solve the world's problems every
Yeah,
time you're
I
on
mean,
the show.
It's just
Hour and a
about
half
it's
at a
just
time.
Hour and a
ideas.
half
It's just
at a time,
ideas, you know.
Well, dude, it was so much fun, and yeah, we covered a lot of cool shit, and I think people are gonna really get a kick out of this episode.
Great.
There's a lot of cool clips that we can get from it, but yeah. Moral of the story is be you, the real you. Show your moon. Connect with people. Discover new music. Spread the love, and yeah, just
Keep your head open,
keep
man.
your head open, man.
That's the most. You go everywhere. What I found is there were some jerks we met down there. There were some really nice people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not so different from here, man.
Right.
It's just how it is.
You go anywhere in the world, and you get that same experience, just different.
But then, like you were
Different,
saying, well, your vibe attracts your tribe. It's like, well, in that sense, if it really is an aura thing, it's like, and you're like, oh, this person's irritating me. It's like, it's probably somewhere within yourself.
Right. Right.
With that logic. Now, I don't know what the truth is about it, but who knows? Who knows, man?
Until next time.
Cheers.
Let's go get some food.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm
man.
hungry.
Thank you so much.
Later.
I've been Dan, and this has been Jack, and Adela will hopefully be dropped
Dan.
off at the nearest
I
the
feel like
UFO drop-off point, and we'll pick her up, and we'll be back. So thank you guys for tuning in. Love you. Bye.
adios.
And I just want you to know some secrets I've been keeping in my heart and in my soul. And I've been losing control, 'cause every time I think of you, it soaks me to the bone. I'm going crazy, crazy over you. And I just wish you were here, 'cause everybody's talking, but the words, they aren't so clear. So won't you lend me your ears? There's so much to discover and so much you need to hear. I'm going crazy, just waiting by my phone. Oh, I'm missing you. It makes me wonder and it makes me cry. Oh, I'm missing you. I try to keep from reading in between, because you're more than just a friend. You're more than just a lover. You're the beginning and the ending of my life. just say you wanna try. Please don't let a good thing die. Please don't hold your love above me. Please just say you wanna try. Please don't let a good thing die. Oh, I'm missing you. It makes me wonder and it makes me cry. Oh, I'm missing you. There's a deeper thing in between. Because you're more than just a friend. You're more than just a lover. You're the beginning and the ending of my life. And I just want you to know I'm missing you. I'm missing you. I just want you to know I'm missing you. I'm missing
Are you tired of listening to the same bands over and over again?
Over and over and over.
Stop listening to what mainstream media chooses for you
You filthy casual.
and try something new. Tune in to the Underbelly Hours every Sunday night at 6 p.m.
On WRSE 88.7 FM.
for exclusive interviews, unreleased content, and more from the depths of Chicago's underground. I'm Adela.
I'm Dan.
Take off your coat and stay a while.
Now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you stream your podcast, thanks to Ox Audio, a Chicago-based podcasting platform.